So what we're going to talk about today is some ways to hopefully help you think about when you're making your video, what's going to help lead you to the outcome of being engaged or having your customers be engaged. Now, there is no silver magic bullet here. I want to be very clear. There are concepts that you can take and build off of, and there'll probably be things that we don't talk of that would be really good to do. But these are just some ideas I think that will help you guys along this journey. Now, just to get a sense of my audience, because I do talk in some other sessions about like how important audience is. How many of you are new to making video, but you know you need to start? Okay, a few of you. How many of you are kind of in that intermediate range where you're starting to make a video, but you're like, I know what I don't know. I know what I know, and it's not much, but I need to even do more. Okay? How many of you guys are like, I'm an old hat, I know video, and I just want to see how this is getting applied? Anybody I left out? You're just here because like, you know what, I forgot to register for everything, and there are seats in this room. That's okay. I'm not ashamed to have you here. Welcome to the fold. So in your journey, it doesn't matter where you are. If you're on the more experienced end, you might be countering my ideas. You might say, you know what, Matt, I've seen this. And that's okay. Because what I found with talking to a lot of other people is that the experience I have in the space that I work in is going to be slightly different than others. And it's just the fact that our industries are different and have different expectations. Our audiences are different and have different needs. And we love that because that means we get to learn and grow from each other. So what we're going to go through is today just some things about engagement, what and why you need to be concerned. And then I'm going to talk about what I call passive and active strategies for engagement. And I'll talk more in depth what those are, but know that, and this is my thinking of, there's things that you can put in your video that really the user, the viewer doesn't have to do anything, and there's things that you can get them to do that will help them engage. So there's a little bit slight differences there. So let's get into the what and the why. So real quick, when you guys hear the word engagement, and I primed you here a little bit, what are the things you think of? And maybe not even that. It doesn't have to be that. Just shout out real quick. Social shares. So with likes. We love likes. We love hearts. I love that. When I go live on Facebook, I'm like, give me the likes. Any other words for engagement? Conversation. Good. Completion rates. We want to see them get to the end of this thing so that we know they got the information. There's something about, and I put the wedding ring up there very purposely because there's this thing about commitment. We want people to commit to our video. We want them to love our video. We want them to be drawn in and feel like, I never want to leave this video again. You ever seen that video? You're like, I got to watch that again. I remember when Dumb Ways to Die came out. You guys remember that video? Super clever, super cute. I watched it so many times. I'm like, to my wife and kids, guys, you've got it. And my wife's like, are you kidding me? A stupid cartoon? I'm like, no, really? And now we can't stop singing it. But the other kind of meaning of engagement I want you to think about is combat. When two forces come together, there's an engagement there, right? So we're also in this type of engagement that we're looking for. It doesn't have to be adversarial. It doesn't have to be against each other, but we want that kind of tension so that it's pulling each other together so that when they watch our video, they're in it, right? They're in the fight. We want them to come out of it. So the first step in this is to start thinking about how can we be relevant? I think we can even strike off to be interesting. But how are you relevant to your audience? I don't care how exciting, how flashy, or how much CGI or anything you put in your video. If you're not relevant to your user or to your audience, they don't care. You might get some views and some likes because it was funny or because it was super exciting, but that's not going to get the job done. Because we all have a purpose, right? We're making these videos. We don't want to just make videos for fun. I mean, maybe you do that in your spare time because I like to make videos. But at the end of the day, for marketers and for training people and sales folks, we want to be relevant. We want that to be the person or group or whatever it is that they're thinking about. And our videos can help do that. So think about how we can be relevant to them. Is it helping them to do something? Is it helping them to be aware of a problem, to overcome a problem, whatever it might be? Once you nail the relevancy, then you can start thinking about being interesting. So what's going to set you apart? I thought this morning was really great, the coffee shop story, right? Death Wish Coffee. Was that right? Is that the right term? Because here's this guy, he understood what he wanted to do, and then he did something to set himself apart. He made it interesting. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm not into like, oh man, coffee's so awesome. I know some of you guys can't live without it, right? But he did that. He said it. He said, I'm relevant because this is my audience, and now I'm interesting. Because he knew what was interesting to his audience. That's interesting. When you transfer slides over, sometimes data doesn't come through. That's okay. That's a really important number, 34%. So all you need to know about everything, guys, is 34%. Actually, this is a stat. We did a study at TechSmith. We did it in 2013, and then we ran it again in 2016. And what we wanted to figure out is, why do people stop watching video? Like, really, because at the end of the day, if you're making a video, what causes someone to stop? And don't be fooled. We had people say, I don't stop watching video. You're lying. Everyone stops watching video. This 34% is actually not getting the expected information. So when you set out your video to the world, and you're all excited, do their expectations match the reality of what that video is? You want engagement? That's one of the best things you can do. Make sure they understand what they're going to get out of that. Now, obviously, you want some surprise at time. You want to draw them in because it's clever. But if they watch it and they're like, oh, man, I just wasted 2 minutes because that's not what I needed. I needed X, and I got Y. You're going to lose them. The orange box, I mean, there's some data hinted there. I can tell you, it's really interesting data. At 20%, it's actually 20% of the people indicated they stopped watching because they were bored or they were uninterested. Relevant and interesting. 50% of the people stopped for those reasons. So if I could get 50% more people to watch my video by being relevant and interesting, why not do it? Some of the other things that are on here is things like wrong topic. I think it's tough because they might have just chosen poorly or searched poorly. The next one over the light blue just next to the red, which I realize some people are colorblind, so if you don't know, it's this one. That's a 9% that says that they plan to watch it later. That happens. That's okay, as long as they watch it later. And then there's some other things in there, like it wasn't entertaining. I'm not here to really entertain you. However, good to know. Some audience members want that. So, but what we really want to focus on here is the relevant and the interesting. So what's going to do that to make your videos engaging? This, to be all and just completely honest, if you go and get the slides, the slide notes have extra data in it and some links. There's 3 articles in here that talk about what makes a video engaging. I'm not going to go through all their stuff, but it ranges kind of across the spectrum depending on if you're going to YouTube or if you're going to other locations. But again, I think it really comes back down to the 2 key things are already there: the relevancy and the interest. Maybe my clicker will work. We're having all. This is the great thing about being a presenter, guys. You should try it sometimes. Get like, I don't know, 150 of your closest friends together, have a party, and say like, hey, let's see what kind of tech problems we can have in front of everybody. Yeah, there we go. Woo! Okay, so we're going to talk about a lot of different things in passive engagement. For me, passive engagement is the things as you watch your video that they just have to absorb. They don't have to do anything. You're building it into the video. It's not like they have to take any kind of action to get benefit from these strategies. First one, which resonates perfectly with this audience because of the theme of the conference, is storytelling. Storytelling is an ancient medium. We as a people have been telling stories for a very long time. Before there was classrooms, before there was video training, before all this, we were telling each other stories. And I'm guessing way back when, we were telling stories about like, hey, do you see that thing, the big thing's coming out of its mouth? Yeah, it's going to kill you. That's how you know, stay away or you will die. That's learning, right? That's relevant to me because I'm going out. So storytelling is really, really critical to engagement. And now not every video is going to be a story per se. It's not going to be like you could do a customer interview and it's not going to be like, once upon a time I had a customer and this customer did X. You don't have to do that. but you can weave in the elements. And most stories, good stories, have a structure. There's a setup. Sometimes there's a confrontation, something like a conflict, and then there's usually a resolution. So in the case of my company that I work for, TechSmith, we make software that allows you to record your screen. So you might see something like this. Ex-customer was having a problem communicating. And they didn't know what to do about it, and they knew that they needed... Actually, let me rewind that. Customer, because I'll use a real example. Virgin Media, British Telecom. They had 300 people who were retiring, and they had specialized knowledge that no one else in the company had, and that as soon as those people retired, the information and that knowledge was lost, gone. They needed that knowledge because those systems had to be maintained. So, setup, confrontation, right? You got this company, they got a problem. Resolution. They gave these people one of our products and allowed them to record their knowledge. That's simple, very simple, basic version of the story. But it gives you a flow, and it gives you something to work through. And you guys know story, and there's so much more to story than this. I'm just really simplifying it. But think about how your story is going to help your customer move through that journey. Where are they going to get to? Where do you want them to get to? I want to show you a video. I do have several videos throughout here. This is one of the video projects I worked on when I took over a video team at TechSmith a number of years ago. And I like it because we tried something different with story. We hadn't made a lot of story videos. So kind of the setup for this is you're going to see a very simple story. We actually got really excited about the show 24. To be honest, I'd never seen the show 24 when we made this. Sorry, I watched a lot of it, though, that week. But we said, okay, we got a style. We want to tell a story about the power of being able to do green screen video in Camtasia. So let's watch it, and I'll point a couple things out afterwards.
Guys, what's going on? I need that presentation now.
Don't worry, we're on it. Where is that footage?
We're almost done. I'm on my way.
I got the footage!
Hand it over. We have to do this quick.
I don't know if there's enough time.
You've only got 3 minutes.
All right. Moment of truth.
Survive another presentation with Camtasia.
I was actually waiting for the doors to open when my PowerPoint data didn't show up, and I'm running in. I got the data! Where is Conan? So I love it that we got to a story. But here's the thing. I've learned a lot since then. Let me tell you one of our biggest problems with the story. Where's the resolution in this video? I thought at the time it was at the end. Survive another day. There's our brand. There's an opportunity to take an action. It wasn't. When we looked at the stats on YouTube, what we actually saw at about 37 to 39 seconds, where everyone started going, like they did it, that's where everyone stopped watching. The end of the video was when everyone clapped. I didn't want everyone to stop watching there. I wanted them to get to that darn logo at the end, because otherwise it's just, hey, that's a cool story. Someone did green screen. I wanted them to associate it with our product. So we learned a lot from that, but I think it still tells a kind of an interesting story in a short amount of time. The next thing about engagement is making it conversational. We don't have to have really formal conversations or really haughty conversations with our customers. You might be in an industry that requires some formality, but it's much better to be real. Like, we want to have a personal conversation with someone. And so when you're making your videos, think about what that tone is going to be for you and see if you can make it conversational. I think it works well for writing. I think it works well for social media, obviously, but it also works really well for video. And so try to think about what is that conversational tone that you want to have. What's appropriate for your audience? And then do that. But you don't have to make it too stiff. You know, there are some legal requirements around videos, such as like pharmaceutical commercials. They've got to get that legal jargon in. But maybe there's another way they could do it. Does it have to be at the end, the micro machine, you just died? No, maybe that gets worked in the conversation. Like, hey, yeah, you're totally going to have irritable bowel syndrome or something. I don't know what it is. Maybe that gets worked in so it's a little bit more conversational, a little bit more friendly. Because that jargon stuff tends to turn people off. And they're like, especially if they're new, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what that means. And we don't want that from our customers. I love this. I love this picture. I love this guy. He's so happy. Have energy. Your video doesn't have to, it can be serious. It doesn't have to be running through down a train track to have energy. But you want people to associate that feeling, right? They want to evoke emotion. And there's a lot of emotions you can evoke. And not all emotions are equal. Super Bowl ads are really good. There's a company, I can't remember the name of the company. They did a whole analysis of 1 year of Super Bowl ads about what emotions they evoked. And there was, like Budweiser usually does a good job with the draft horses, or there's some with, babies or animals. Those usually do pretty well. Then there was GoDaddy. You guys remember the GoDaddy ads from the Super Bowl? Anyone feel a little, that was an awful commercial? They evoked emotions. They made you feel a little sick, or a little wrong, or a little dirty. That's okay. That was what they wanted. But if you can evoke emotion, you're going to connect on a different level. Because you're going to feel it. You're going to feel, as an audience member, like, okay, I made that connection. And there's a whole bunch that we're going to look at that I think will tie into that a little bit more.